Welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast. Brian Siegler.
What's up, buddy?
We made it.
It's game week.
It is game week. College football has kicked off. So before we do anything else tonight, a toast, a cheers.
Here we go.
To the beginning of the 2021 season.
Yes, sir.
Buddy, how was your day? You've heard about my day a few times.
Man, it was pretty chill. I did get to come home early. I was in the office, but they said they were like, if you want to go work from home because of this whole potential tornado business, they were like, go ahead. I was like, okay. So I got here about a little after 3 and finished up the last couple hours here.
Nice, man. As you know, midday we lost power here in the West End for a little while. I don't know if it was 4.
We were crossing our finger. You sent me the window. I was like, 7's a little close for comfort for a window,
but it
to
worked. Get
this thing rolling. But hey, shout out Dominion Power.
Big shout out to Dominion Power. They got it on within about an hour and a half after it went off.
Okay. So it was quick then.
It was pretty quick. So I don't think it was anything storm related. I think it was, who knows, somebody. They've been doing work behind us with like they're putting a sidewalk in to go up to Deep Run Park. And my first thought was, even though it's rainy and crappy, were they out there working today and like
someone took the auger a little too deep into the ground?
Exactly. So, was it that? Was it what was it? I don't know. But we lost power. We got it back. Then my wife came home with my middle child, and he was a little out of control today. But all is well.
As they are wont to be.
Exactly. But this is it. We're at game week, guys, and we're going to look at a little bit of everything. We're going to look at the Hokies depth chart. We're going to look at Carolina. We're going to preview the enemy. We're going to do some picks later in the program. But we're going to start with just a couple quick hitters tonight, and kind of the first one's kind of funny, but we still should talk about it. Smithfield Meat Products is now the official sponsor of the Commonwealth Clash.
So the turkey bacon jokes write themselves, right?
Yes, they do.
The turkey bacon jokes write themselves. Anybody that read the SI article and all the stuff that was coming out leading up to
last year.
Last year it was interesting.
But overall, it's bacon, it's good sausage. If you don't have Smithfield for a nooner at your 6 a.m. tailgate, you're probably not doing something right.
I had some Smithfield tonight. We did breakfast for dinner.
We did breakfast for dinner. I did dollar taco night, man. After the day, everything.
Always a good decision.
Cheapest
Taco
dinner.
Wednesday, hump day tacos. Nothing like that.
Shout out Rico's Tacos in the West End. If you don't know, go there on Wednesday nights. $1 beef or chicken tacos, hard or soft. Maybe somebody from there.
Also, Rico's Mechanicsville, same deal. So.
Same Wednesday? Ooh.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see someone. It's actually, to me, it's cool to see Smithfield, someone in state, sponsor the rivalry. There's going to be a little monetary coming into the pockets of both schools, which is always a plus. And again, it's a brand synonymous with Virginia, but it was just one of those funny things that we had to mention. Now, the other, not funny thing, but really cool thing this week, Brian, I'm sure you read it just like I did. And if you see me turning my head, folks, I have Jacksonville State UAB up here. UAB is up 17-0. The line 16.5. I was like, take the 16.5, but Jacksonville State's doing nothing offensively. Back to what I was saying. Earlier this week, ACC Network announces Eddie Royal is going to be joining the ACC Network as part of the All-ACC Network News and Information Show. And he's going to do some weekly appearances throughout the season every Thursday. He's also going to do commentary on some ACC Network games. His first will be Tech Middle Tennessee State. I mean, this is good. Go ahead.
I was going to say good. That's great for Eddie, great for Virginia Tech. And good for the ACC network. They absolutely needed to get more former players in on this thing.
Yes.
And getting someone from Virginia Tech in the building, in the studio, is a big deal.
Getting someone from Virginia Tech's a big deal. It's a big deal for us, a big deal for the network. But also getting someone who spent 9 years in the NFL. And again, he was a phenomenal ACC performer when he was at Virginia Tech. So you're getting this guy who didn't just go 1 or 2 years in the NFL. He legitimately, between Denver and Chicago, I know I'm missing somewhere in there, he legitimately had a long NFL career.
Yep.
And again, it's going to be interesting to see if they let Eddie interview people. You know, people have talked about Eddie's personality, never met him personally, but like Eddie had that personality just drawn to you. So, you know, it's awesome to see a Hokie get in there, and gonna be interesting to see how he is from the booth. Chargers. Thank you, Jay Burns E4. I knew it was somebody I was missing there. All right, so let's roll on, Brian, and let's take a look at Virginia Tech. It was released midweek, the depth chart. And as we look at it here, Brian, we both pulled it up. Shout out Andy Bitter. That's who I'm pulling mine from. Let's first start with the offensive line. Just last week on the Hokie podcast hosted by John Laser, Brad Cornelison came out and said Ledicka Smith, Brock Hoffman, Caden Moore, Silas Danzy are our starters. Nothing changed in the next 5 or 6 days.
Yep.
How do you feel about this starting offensive line?
I feel good about it, especially from the run blocking standpoint. The jury is still out on what the right side's going to do in terms of pass pro. We know Silas has been up and down through his career in that regard. Haven't seen a whole lot of Caden, but we know Caden can fucking maul people. The fact that he ended up climbing up the depth chart was a little bit of a shock, but I think is a good thing. And I think it's the potential that we saw in him, especially once we had a little bit of a vacate at that position with Hudson and Nestor moving on.
True.
You knew that Caden Moore was at least going to be in the conversation there, and it looks like he kind of flat out won that job. Silas was getting some run there. I know they were looking at a couple other guys, but Caden locked it down.
Yeah, we know Silas got run there because Tyrell started at right tackle. And it looks like, you know, as it's been known what Vice to do, he's going to mix up the lines. He's going to mix up. I'm sure there were some weird combinations out there, probably some combinations that he had no business running. But again, just being truthful from what you hear from Vice.
You're not wrong.
He's trying to find his best 5. And then when you look at the depth behind them, does it interest you that, you know, do you think Tyrell Smith and Parker Clements are legitimately the backups, or is this just one of those, well, we need to put different names here?
So that's the big thing for me. So let's talk about tackle first. More than likely, one of those two is probably going to be the primary swing tackle. If I had to put money on it, I'd say it's probably Ty Smith.
Yeah.
One tackle goes down, he's going in there regardless of whether it's Tenuta on one side or Silas on the other. Now, when we look to the interior line, that's when it gets a little bit more hazy. I think that Johnny is going to be the primary swing guy, and then you're going to look at maybe Jesse Hansen being in there as well. So you're probably looking at a 7 or 8 man rotation like we're normally used to with Virginia Tech's offensive line under Coach Vice. And I think those are kind of your 8 guys. It's going to be those starting 5 along with Jesse Hansen, Johnny Jordan, and Tyrell Smith kind of rounding that out. You got a Jack Hollyfield slated in as the number 2 right guard, but 4 people are going to have to get injured before you see him hit the field, even as currently constructed. So there's unless all 5 starters go down at one time, you're not seeing Jack Hollyfield.
You're not seeing Jack Hollyfield at
but
all.
It does say something that he's already, making some noise at the interior offensive line as well, though I think long term we're probably looking at him as more of a center than a guard.
True. That's kind of what the stuff is, the information that's coming out that he probably is looking at taking that path to center. Johnny Jordan being the primary backup for center versus right guard, I think that tells a little more because I think if something were to happen, I think Johnny would go to center because I think Brock can play either of those guard positions a lot better.
Yeah. Brock would probably slide, and then next man up, if two interior goes down, is probably going to be Jesse Hansen.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned something in the past that you believe that if Brock slid to any guard position, he wouldn't be the center calling the plays, but he would be calling from wherever he is on the line if he's on the interior.
More than likely, you get a better point of view from the center position. So that's the ideal situation. But I think they would rather go with comfort of the position and comfort of the blocks, which means putting Johnny in there at center over 100% having that vision to make all the right calls. And Brock, I think he's done this enough, and he's got the mental capability to get it done, even if he's not quite getting the point of view that he'd like to have from the center position.
Absolutely. All right, let's jump next. Were you happy to see the way the 6 positions are with the wideouts? The 6 guys at the wideout positions. Does anything sort of? Oh, he's grinding his teeth.
I mean, the thing I would have liked to seen is I'd like to seen Jaden Payute beat out Caleb Smith
for the wide.
Yeah, and that's no knock on Caleb Smith, but I feel like we've seen what Caleb's capable of. We haven't seen what Jaden's capable of, what his ceiling is going to be. I'd like to see him get enough run to really show what he is or is not capable of.
You know what I think it is? I know there was the reports that he had a slight tweak. I think that's more of he did not get the time to win the Y slot.
And that may be true, and especially for a guy that's switching positions and a guy that hadn't played receiver before coming to Virginia Tech. Yeah, I think he's still probably coming along in the offense. He probably needed the reps to get where he needed to be. So you're probably right there. I'm sure, losing reps, losing time. Caleb's been, pretty much, handling, that role for a while now. So, kind of go with the guy that's a little more seasoned.
Absolutely. It's great to see Jalen Jones and Dwayne Lofton as the 2 deep at the X and at the slot. We continue to hear, and we've heard really good things about these guys, really good things. And seeing them as the 2 deep, as me and you have talked about in the past, you're talking great about them. Are you going to put them on the field?
Yep.
I'm hoping that since they're in the 2 deep and they have been talked up for the last month, this means they're going to have some run out there at some point during Friday's game.
That's my hope, and especially with DeJuan Lofton, because with Tay Robinson, he's got the starting slot position, but more than likely they're going to move him all over the offense. So you might have some scenarios where he's on the field with DeJuan Lofton. You might have some situations where he's just playing in the slot, and you got either Caleb or Jaden out on the outside with Trey. So I think they'll mix it up because
let's hope so.
Because Tay does give them that flexibility. But I definitely want to see those freshmen get some run this year. And it's nice to see 2 guys that we targeted in the last class come in, make a name for themselves quick, and they're already, creasing the 2 deep.
Absolutely. Before we jump over to the defensive side of the ball, we're not going to talk about tight end. We're going to talk about quarterback. Those are pretty much entrenched positions. That's the best running back depth chart I've ever seen. Not a 1A and 1B, a 1A, B, and C. Brian, how angry will you be if you do not see some form of combination of Jalen Holston and Raheem Blackshear or Keyshawn King and Raheem Blackshear on the field at the same time Friday?
Yeah, I mean, we got to get Blackshear on the field a good amount and not just as a spellback. I think he's going to be fine as a spellback, but you can't just use him as a spellback. That was my criticism for most of 2020. That's going to be my criticism if we don't come out with plays to get him involved in the game that aren't just inside zone and outside zone. So we need to find a way to get him the ball outside of those traditional run plays that we call. Keyshawn King is who I love seeing in there, especially after kind of how 2019 wrapped up for him, how the offseason went, how 2020 went for him. Seeing him back in that 3-man rotation at running back is big, and I hope that he has a good year because I feel like he can bring a lot of different things to the table that we don't have in the other two backs in that 3D.
Especially the explosiveness that he has.
Yep.
All right, let's flip over to defense, Brian, for a second here. A couple positions. I mean, defensive end, no question. That kind of is what it is. Defensive tackle, kind of again is what it is. But I'm going to look at this one first. Let's look at boundary safety.
Okay.
We have been hearing Tay Daly's going to be doing a dual role. Tay Daly's name does not appear as the boundary safety primary backup. It's Nasir Peoples. What does that say to you about what's going on with that position?
So if we're following the same logic that we followed with offensive line,
okay,
it's almost like once a guy's name is put in one position, he's not going to be put in another position. Even though on offensive line, we know that if right guard goes down, more than likely we're seeing Johnny Jordan at one position or the other.
Yep.
Or Brock Hoffman sliding over. That's not how it, like, this isn't Madden. We're not setting it up where we're stacking our two deep with, the starter at another position or the backup at another position. You're not starting your entire second string from guard to guard with the best second string guy you got on the interior line there. I think the same is playing here. Tay Daly probably is going to be that kind of swing safety, that third safety that's going to operate in both. Some of the giveaway with that is that you got Jalen Stroman as kind of the oar at the free safety position. So that tells me that he's coming along there as well. But I mean, Nasir Peoples is in there as well, and I'd like to see what he can do, get on the field and get some time as well, because I think he's got a lot of potential there as well. The question for me with Devin Hunter is Devin Hunter going to be conditioning-wise, football-wise, where he needs to be to absorb the amount of snaps he'll have to endure as a starter?
Yep, that's going to be a biggie there. The other thing that caught the eye was free safety. Jalen Stroman is the oar. I think me and you already talked about it. We thought he was going to see definitely probably not going to get a red shirt. Probably going to be on a ton of special teams. Obviously going to get some run at free safety now.
Yeah, I mean, I was calling that out the gate. I was like, this guy's going to probably see some time this year. He was at least going to use every snap of his 4 games if he wasn't going to have to burn the red shirt. So here we are.
He ain't red shirt. He ain't red. I think he's too talented. I think he's already built. I think he's ready to play.
He's got the body. He's ready to play. He's practiced significantly with NFL caliber players. So
true. It's true. All right, let's look at next. And I'm trying to figure this because, as we talked about, we're not putting our 4 best players on the offensive line. Linebacker looks completely opposite. Where we were seeing McCray from the Marshall transfer, talked about as being the potential backup to backer. Lo and behold, this pops out, and it's the more seasoned, it's the more veteran, it's the unlikely backer fit in Keyshawn Artis. What is that?
Well, I think I'll tell you what I think it says, and that's based on something I heard later in the week as it went along. Is that we're working McCray a little bit at defensive end.
Ooh.
So if we're working McCray at defensive end, then more than likely, we're going to look at Dean backing up Dax and Keyshawn backing up Tisdale. That's going to be interesting. I think the Dean thing doesn't shock me. I think, as you were alluding to, the Keyshawn Artis backing up Alan Tisdale is a little more shocking.
Yeah.
Keyshawn's a little bit of the more bigger linebacker. You would think he would be a little better fit on the interior, but it sounds like Dean's really stepped up, and it sounds like Keyshawn, they at least trust him enough to be able to handle the athleticism required of that position to at least be that 2 deep at backer there.
Absolutely. All right, let's flip back to the secondary real quick. We're not questioning Jamari Connor. Jamari Connor gets the 25. He's obviously the primary nickel back. But let's look at corner because I think coming into this, I think me, you, and probably the rest of Hokie Nation were thinking Jermaine's back, Jermaine's healthy, he's one. That's the case. We also thought Dorian Strong had one hell of a campaign last year, freshman All-American. He's definitely two. Armani Chapman, per the coaches, per the reports, has had his best camp since he's been at Tech, and he is essentially the 1B with Dorian Strong. Awesome for Armani. I think awesome for that room.
That's huge. I like that. I mean, Armani's always had the ability. It was a little bit of the consistency I think that he was missing in his game and some of the early snaps he was getting. Particularly look at last year, he'd have one really good play and then he'd back it up with a play that, he wasn't quite where he needed to be or didn't make the play. So if he can get some consistency in his game, the sky's the limit because he's got all the ability. Good size, 5'11", 205. You like that size. He's big enough to jam you, but he also has the athleticism to run with you. So I'm hoping for big things for him. And I'm sure some of that, I mean, I know Dorian did well last year, but Dorian's probably still going to need another year to get the size that you'd like him to have to be kind of an every down corner.
Absolutely. Anything else between either depth chart catch your eye over the last couple of days that you want to
I mean, we've already talked about it a little bit, but we're a little antsy about Eli Adams being our number 2 defensive end on the left side behind Amari Barno. Not knocking him, just size-wise, it's a concern. You got weight only 235. That's not the bad part. The bad part is he's coupling that with a height of 5'11", which really doesn't match the scheme that we're trying to run now.
Yeah.
So that's a little concerning, but
it is. But I think a little bit later on in the episode, Brian, we're going to get into a few things as we talk about Carolina, about what we're going to do and things me and you discussed potentially could happen with the defensive line. All right, before we move on, let's go ahead and take a look. The team captains, Brian, I don't think any is a shot. We have tight end James Mitchell, linebacker Dox Hollyfield, Jamari Connor, number 25 this week, Brock Hoffman, and Terrell Smith. I think you have a great balance. We have a prediction right there. I don't know if we can use that one.
She's hedging.
You can't hedge. You gotta give us one. We'll write it down for later in the episode. But I think you get a good mix of you have your dogs, right?
Yep.
Your dogs. You have your dogs. You kind of have your old guard in Ty Smith. And then you sort of have the governor.
The governor.
The governor. In James Mitchell. So you have this wide variety of leadership. You have Jamari, who's a little quieter. Brock and Dax, the dog's real loud. Although Jamari is quiet, he's a dog as well. And then you have, it's like this, it's a good blend. It's not everybody's like James Mitchell, very considered the governor, and everybody's not wild and crazy getting 15-yard penalties after plays. No offense, Jock Hoffman, but,
You got your old head, Ty Smith, making sure everybody gets their fiber. I mean,
puts on their bands, their copper tones. But any shots with anybody on here?
No shock. I mean, that was a pretty straightforward move by the Hokies. So nothing to really comment on, but, sometimes predictable responses are good.
Very nice. Brian, it's Orange Effect Week. They released the jerseys about 2 hours ago. Did they get it right?
Yes. They absolutely got it right. White helmets, orange jerseys, orange pants. Let's do this.
They did get it right. It looks good. It's an orange effect. We are maroon and orange. Chicago maroon, to be specific, and orange. It needs to be orange on orange effect. You don't need to have a maroon helmet on orange effect games. The white helmet is good with the obviously. What are we upsetting Tally for? Tally.
He's saying that they made this move so we don't upset Tally.
Yeah. No, I think
Tally was definitely flying the orange flag for sure.
He was definitely. But I think what it is you're seeing a more. I think there's some people internally that we're getting inside the locker room that is seeing this stuff and say, why are we wearing orange effect, white pants, orange jersey, maroon helmet? That makes no sense. So to me, they got it right. The thing is I look in my closet, I don't think I have a maroon effect t-shirt or an orange effect t-shirt or an orange Hokie shirt at all. So,
make a purchase, dude.
What? I don't know. It's all my life. I always bought, the maroon and orange. It's always just been like that, man. All right. So, guys, before we get into our main topic tonight of taking a look at the enemy UNC, we are going to take a quick pause for a message from our digital partners. All right, big guy, let's start it off here. We are going to take a look at the UNC offense first. And before you can say anything about the UNC offense, you have to start with Sam Howell, projected first-round pick for next year, a guy who in his 2 seasons of starting, 68 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 64% completion percentages, 1-1 record against the Hokies. Last time he stepped in lane was the epic overtime game that he did lose.
Yep.
And Brian, as I was going through some of the stats and data, I looked at the PFF chart. And as I started looking at the PFF chart and kind of talking with you, I started noticing a trend. If I looked at the left side throws for Sam Howell, that is his primary. He was above average, super red, which means he's making those throws. They're getting big plays. It was impressive because on the left side, it wasn't just the 0 to 10. It was the 10 to 20 and even further down the field. So excellent going to the left side. And then you kind of go over the middle of the field, the 5 to 12 yard range. Really, really good. Really good. Get beyond 12 yards, though, he starts becoming average to below average on those fields in the middle of the field between the hashes. Caught my eye. Obviously, me and you had a conversation about it. But before we get to all of it, there's that last piece. I look to the right side. And, buddy, that thing was a lot of white, so average, and a lot of blue, below average. So I'm going to give you this. What is this telling us about Sam Howell? Is it saying – what do you think it's saying? Because one side of the field, he's killing it. Then you go to the middle, he does okay past a certain yardage. And then on the right side, good Lord, it's ice cold.
Well, if you looked at the tape, the way they aligned Dyami Brown last year, he was primarily on the left-hand side of the offensive formation. So when they were striking downfield, they were doing so more effectively where Dyami Brown was lining up.
Okay.
So that's one piece of it. And he was the primary deep threat. So that's why you're seeing plays further down the field have more effect on that side. So that's the big thing with that. The question that we're going to be talking about is, Sam Howell. I mean, even if he repeats what he did last year, that's going to be a damn good campaign for that team, right?
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think that there's areas of concern for him. But we'll see if having a little bit more of a balanced receiving core may end up either negatively or positively impacting kind of where those throws were going compared to last year and what the effectiveness of those throws are.
All right. So you mentioned the left side and the deep. What about the middle? Why was it 5 to 12? It looks like he was killing, but it didn't get much further than that. Is that something to do with possibly Daz?
Yeah, Daz was primarily working from the slot, working underneath. They weren't running a bunch of seams or posts from the slot with him. It was a lot of corners, ends, digs, essentially man beaters.
Okay.
They were running a lot of routes like that. We saw some some problems that created for Chamari Connor in last year's game before he got the kick out there. So we'll see if they're able to do that with another guy we're talking about here in a little bit, replace some of that production. But yeah, that's why Howell is so effective though, is because when he identifies and has a good relationship with a target, he can hit them effectively down the field. But underneath, he kind of peppers everybody, even though a guy like Daz Newsome was doing some special things in getting open and getting some of those releases that gave him a big window to get the ball in there.
All right. So we effectively get to see on Friday night the importance of Daz, the importance of Dayami in that chart. And even more so that it was announced earlier this week that the most experienced returning starter for UNC, Bo Corrales, is out.
Yep. He is out for this game. And that's going to be a big thing in terms of kind of those third downs and in the red zone, because Bo Corrales isn't necessarily breaking away big time down the field, but he is the stick mover. He's the guy getting those hard yards outside the hashes there, running those slants, having a big body to be able to get position against smaller corners, some of those safeties. So not having him in there definitely takes some of that size mismatch out of this wide receiver core.
Oh yeah.
We probably won't have as much in terms of physicality mismatch anymore there.
No.
So, I mean, that's helpful for the Hokies. We'll see if they're able to take advantage of it, though.
Absolutely. But he's 6'3", he's 205. He was having a good season last year before he got injured. So, if anything, it's one of those I hate to say a bright spot for the Hokie, that someone who's been on that stage in that stadium multiple times is not there on the field. Now, let's go ahead and look at, Copry Brown, because Dami's little brother got to go in and replace Big Brother's production from last year. And I mean, he backs it up. He was a 4-star out of Charlotte. He's a 4.49 speed guy out of the 40. Had some plays last year, 15 for 337. His big game was against Wake Forest, where he got 3 for 76 and a couple touchdowns. Can he replace Big Brother's 2,800 yards?
That's to be seen. From a physical standpoint, I mean, he's every bit of the athlete as his brother. Probably a hair faster at the top end. We'll see if he's got that game-breaking route running that Dayami brought to the table.
Yeah.
Word is, though, that he is questionable, or at least potentially limited for this game. So we'll see how much we see of him. He's actually listed kind of as the number 2 this week, and I think that has something to do with them not 100% sure whether he's ready to go. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to play a significant amount of snaps, enough snaps to really show us what he's got.
Well, I think something you mentioned to me, and this is coming from Brian, so I'm going to give you credit for it, Brian. You say about that lower body injury, what we're going to probably find out quick is if he's able to make those lateral cuts. Can he still run slants? Can he still run quick moves? Or if he's just going to be a fly and a go guy, or maybe a post. If you see
some of that's going to depend on what the injury is. If it's like a hammy, that's actually going to be harder to go that top end. But if it's something joint related, then you're looking at planning and cutting is going to become a problem. So it really kind of depends on what that lower body injury is. But we'll probably find out pretty quick if he gets on the field for a series what those limitations look like.
Yep. I think either way, though, Brian, it takes out a dynamic of their offense. If it's the hammy and you lose that 4.49 speed to go downfield, Tommy Brown killed people last year. And if you
it limits what he would be able to do if it's the hammy and he can't get top end on us. That will limit kind of what the tools that he brings to the table, if you will.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, Daz is gone. You got Josh Downs, and now the way it looks, Josh Downs is kind of going to have to be that guy on Friday night. He's primarily going to be working out of the slot. He's definitely a talented kid, but that's a lot to ask for his first game out of the gate.
Yeah, and I'll say this about Downs: the difference between Downs and Daz. Downs has a little bit more of that over the top big playability than Daz did, whereas Daz was really good in and out of breaks, in and out of cuts, running routes. Downs can hurt you kind of both ways. So it'll be interesting, as we talked about earlier with, kind of where Sam Howell likes to go with the football. Is he going to end up stretching the seam a little bit more for the Carolina offense this year, or is it going to be kind of more of what we saw from Daz Newsome last year? But he's definitely going to be the guy that can break the game open for North Carolina against the Hokies on Friday.
Yeah, so what it's going to really be interesting to see is it because who Daz was, they did not take those shots, basically 15 yards downfield in the middle, or is it something, and you don't feel like it's something with Hal, or is it something with Hal, maybe that section of the field is just not what he likes to go to? I hope it's the latter, not the former, because that's much better for the Hokies all around. All right, so we've kind of cleared the wide receiver room. And, they ran over a depleted Virginia Tech team last season. You're right, TOOSM. But the reason they did that is they had two NFL running backs who were taken in our draft last night, Brian. Carter in the 7th round, I believe. I believe our buddy Mike took him.
Yeah, that backfield is going to be a cluster, though. It's going to be hard to see who's the clear lead there.
It's true, but he's got the potential, and you see him and Williams both in the league now.
Oh, yeah.
But they bring in Ty Chandler, Tennessee transfer, to replace him. 3rd in Tennessee all-purpose yards, Brian. Now, Brian, before you get into his game analysis, watching the film, I did a statistical breakdown. And I've got to share it with you. All right. So, how many times do you think Ty Chandler, who's 3rd in all-purpose yards, has carried the ball 15 times or more when he was at Tennessee, which is over 45 games?
What, 2, 3?
Actually, 9. He's carried the ball 15 or more times, 9 times.
Okay.
In those games, he carried it for 166 carries, 786 yards, 4.7 a carry. I know it's Tennessee. I know they have been down for basically since they fired Full Filmer 15 years ago. That doesn't jump to me. His biggest game he had in that stretch was when they played BYU, and he had 26 carries for about 154 yards. His biggest game in general was against UTEP, where he had 12 for 181. One was on an 81-yard touchdown run. I know he's got talent, but it seems to me when he would get that 15-yard threshold, it would not be the 5 to 5.5 yards per carry you're looking for out of a workhorse back. What'd you see on the tape?
Yeah, I mean, some of that's the fact that he was a true rotational player with Gray in the backfield last year primarily. They were pretty much alternating series. So some of that can be, is he more of a rhythm back? In stats say maybe not. If he's getting the more carries he's getting, and we're not necessarily seeing a big jump up in production, is he going to be a guy that's stepping into Williams and Carter's role, or is he going to fill primarily just Williams' role? Because what I see is that he's a good runner. Running style probably is a little bit more like Carter. Good vision. He likes to cut it back. Pretty decent patience, but he doesn't have that kind of game-breaking talent in the running game against quality competition. You mentioned UTEP, but I mean, that's UTEP. You're supposed to do that against UTEP. If show me you breaking a 50-yarder against SEC schools, and I'll say, okay, let's have a conversation. But I didn't see a ton of big plays from him. I saw some good vision and some solid yards, a couple negative plays. He's really fluid in the pass game, though. Catches the ball well, gets upfield, makes guys miss in space. And I'll talk a little bit more about his blocking here. So when he's chipping, when he's helping, when it's designed, he does a good job. When he's got to pick up blitzes, all bets are off.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Because we blitzed about one every 3 plays last year with J. Ham's defense. So, I mean,
I saw him whiff a couple times. I saw him get the wrong read a couple times. So, I mean, there's definitely potential there to get him confused if he's blocking for Sam Howell. Now, the difference between what Tennessee was doing and what UNC does is that they're a little bit quicker with the trigger in that RPO.
Okay.
So the ball's out a lot more fluid than it was for Tennessee last season.
Gotcha. Now, one thing you just mentioned, and I think probably maybe what he is going to satisfy, is Carter and Williams, combined for about 550 receiving yards last year. And maybe that's what he is. Maybe he takes that element. That's his element. I can't foresee this guy. I can't foresee right now this guy getting 1,400 yards.
I mean, he might replace one of their production. I don't foresee him coming in and putting up a Khalil Herbert type season.
All right. Well, Carter and Williams were 1,200 and 1,100 yards last year.
Yeah.
On both under 160 carries. That's where they kill people. They split that backfield perfectly. They both averaged over 7 a carry.
Yep.
And I see.
They were explosive and efficient, and I think that's the thing is that, I think when you bring in a Ty Chandler, you'll get the efficiency. I don't know if you're going to get the explosion night in, night out.
We'll see. And we'll see if maybe some of their younger backs, again, they've got talent, and they come out and quickly step to the plate. And again, between the running backs and the wide receivers, replacing career 10,000 scrimmage yards, which is insane. All right, Brian, I'm not even going to go too much on this guy. Asim Richards, the left tackle, anchoring the line. What do you see on the 3-star?
I see kind of a slightly better version of Luke Tenuta.
Okay.
Slight. Okay. They remind me a lot of each other. Pretty solid in the run game. I'd say very, very much above average, to, borderline great, I should say. Pass pro is hit or miss. And a lot of it depends on how well Richards gets a set in that first punch. When he does well, he gets those first 2 steps in there. He locks you down. He does a good job of staying in front of the man once he stopped that initial burst. He is susceptible to the speed rush. It is, if he misses the punch, it's very much an Olay situation. We saw that how, thankfully for them, gets the ball out quick, but they took a lot of sacks last year. And that's not knocking Richards. I mean, I think he's a very solid left tackle, but I think, there are some holes in his game I think we can exploit, especially with Amari Barno.
Absolutely. And Brian, as we were looking through data, tape, me and you looked back to the Notre Dame game last year when Carolina and them hooked up in late November. And in that game for Notre Dame, a gentleman by the name of Adetokunbo Ogundenasia, 6'5", 260 pounds, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. I know you looked a little bit of that tape. Does he remind you of Barno a little bit?
A little bit. And that wasn't a great game for Richards. And overall, it wasn't a great game for that offensive line. No. When we talk about the offensive line in general, They had really good games against us and a couple other guys last year, but they were very much a steady to up and down line at other points of the season. So they are veteran. They know they've played with each other a lot. They've got a lot of snaps under their belt, but they're not elite at any individual position across that board. Right now, their experience and the system that they're in is their biggest attribute. And I think they did a good job of taking advantage of a very depleted secondary and overall defense for the Hokies last year. And I think while you may not see some elite level defensive play against UNC, you're going to definitely see some improvement.
Absolutely. And again, the big part was the sacks last year. They were like 105th in the nation giving up sacks. And, we got pass rush last year. We just couldn't stop the damn run. And I think that'll be key for us this year. And so
B gap. I'll say it again. B gap. You could drive a bus through it on like 60% of the damn rushing plays last year. It was ridiculous. Some of it looked like just not getting in the right gap. Linebackers, sometimes a safety. I watched one play where it looked like two people had spill responsibilities on the same side, and then somebody else took A gap and there's B gap just wide open there. I'm like, what are y'all doing? You gotta. It doesn't matter if you're gonna get the spill if you don't plug up B gap. They're just gonna run right up the middle of the damn defense. And we got safeties back there that have played like 30 snaps in their damn career.
Walk-ons.
Yeah.
Walk-on safeties back there. And I think that's the key. As we get into it, and we'll do our predictions in a while here, though, it's going to be how they run the ball. It's why we focused on Ty Chandler. But we're going to look at this, Brian, and we talked about it just a little bit earlier. We talked about the defensive alignments. We know we're a little thin at defensive end. So me and you started chatting, and we started chatting about that potential, and it was said by someone, maybe it was Ham, again caught our ear, about potentially Jordan Williams and Norrell Pollard potentially having the versatility to play in. Now, folks, when we say play in, we're not talking about them playing outside of the tackle's shoulder, like Amari Barno and Tywan Garber will. Brian, explain what we're thinking about them doing when they have someone like a combination of Barno, Fuga, Kendricks, and Norrell Pollard on the field.
You're going to see a bigger line. You're probably going to see that go towards the strength of the formation in most cases. If they're going to go heavy, you're going to have that D tackle that's slide out. They'll be towards the tight end. They're probably going to be heads up on the tackle. Probably given two gap responsibilities in this case. If we end up going that way, just because of their size and the need there. But what we're looking at is that gives a little bit more flexibility at D tackle. The question becomes, for that to work and for how Bill Tierlink likes to substitute lines on the D line, you're going to have a Max Philpott play significant snaps for you, because now one of your second line D tackles is getting, potentially a lot of snaps out there at DN. So a guy like Max Philpott's probably going to have to play a significant amount of snaps in order to accommodate that.
All right. So there's that defensive lineman thing we were talking about, guys, about potentially one of the defensive tackles who have that capability. It's the 5 technique, Brian, right?
Yep.
5 technique. Playing the 5 technique. For folks who are, if you want to get an idea of what this looks like, and this is what I'm going to revert you to, go look at the San Francisco 49ers defense of the last few years under Robert Saleh, the New York Jets' current defense. If you really want to get the most unequivocally great version of it, go look back at the Legion of Boom when they were running cover 3 and cover 3 buzz with Cam. They essentially had a big defensive end. It was more of a defensive tackle right over one of the tackle positions. And then they'd have someone at like the 8 or 9 technique wide. And the goal of it is, that's where the pass rush is coming from. We have a quick interior guy that can get up through your guards. But our goal is you're not going to run the ball. We're going to stop you from running the ball. And if you do, we know where you're going to attempt to run the ball. And we're going to have athletic linebackers get into those gaps. So go back, look at those tapes. That's our thought process. Now, Brian, we've already discussed the receivers. And me and you went into the coverages. When I gave you this data, you screamed something at me, and I'm going to let you scream it again. Brian, last year, 60% of the time, Virginia Tech played a cover 3, a cover 4, a quarter. What do you think we're doing against Carolina?
We're going cover 6, quarters to the left as much as possible.
And why are we doing this?
Because we're trying to take away where Sam Howell likes to go deep with the football.
And if you take away where Sam Howell likes to go deep with the football, you're not going to get railroaded. He might beat you by 1,000 cuts. But when you have to make 1,000 cuts, you can eventually miss. You can eventually make a mistake.
Well, look at the scores, the majority of the scores last year. It was big plays in the running game, big shots to Diami Brown.
Yep.
That was like, 28 or 35 of their points?
Let me get the old score up here. Let me effort it real quick because I had it up there a few minutes ago. This is efforting in real time. They were 8-4 last year. They consider that one of their greatest seasons of all time. Don't forget that, folks. That was one of their greatest seasons of all time. All right, here we go. Diami Brown, 37-yard pass. Diami Brown, 43-yard pass. They were both touchdowns. 55, Michael Carter, 62-yard run. So 21 of their 56 points were big play scores.
30 yards or more.
That's not even counting the numerous times they broke midfield on us with 20-plus yard runs.
Yep.
So the goal here is, Brian, let's just say it, quarters, take away the deep, and fill the friggin' B gap. If we just somewhat fill it, it's going to be a little better than last year.
Honestly, if everyone's in a gap and our safeties and outside guys are in the spill lanes the way they need to be, just getting there is half the battle. That was the big problem last year. We weren't fucking there.
No. It was terrible.
It wasn't that we weren't making the plays. We weren't even fucking there.
Yeah. All right, Brian. Well, let's flip. Let's go to the other side of the ball because as much as we want to knock and call crap, and I know it was a lot of Hendon Hooker, we scored 45 points on this defense last year.
Yep.
It would have been more if there were several calls. We're not going to go into that play because I've talked about it about 6,000 times in the last 9 months. But let's start with the defense. Let's start with the defensive line. Let's start with the 2 Fox brothers. You got Tamari, 6'1", 290, 3-star out of Georgia. Last year, 46 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. His brother, Taman, is the outside linebacker. Also 3-star, 6'3", 260, completely different body type, different style, 36 tackles, 10.5 for loss, 7 sacks. What do each of them bring to the table? And let's start with Tamari, the bigger of the two.
He's got a motor for a big guy. And that's what scares me. And if I had to pick a poison with this too, Tamari is scarier to me. And that's only because he's going to do a good job of containing some of our run game, but he's also going to impact the pass game with that motor. Now, in terms of just being afraid of our quarterback taking a hit and potentially getting injured, Timon Fox, man. He's got speed, good combination of size and speed. They've got that, it's the 2-4-5. It's a hybrid defense. A lot of times Timon Fox is out there standing up. Sometimes he's a stand-up edge rusher. Sometimes he's just an outside linebacker. Sometimes he's got his hand in the dirt. They will switch up their alignments the entire game. So you got to be ready for it. And Tamari is the player that scares me, but the versatility of Timon Fox and how he can kind of do a lot of different things for that defense is why he's such a valuable asset for them.
Absolutely. And obviously, folks, we check in with our buddies who coach and everything like that. And our buddy Robbie Compton, who was, back during our camp episode, hit him up tonight for a little while, and he said, keep an eye on one of the younger defensive ends, Keyshawn Silver. And I looked up Silver. He was a top 30 player last year. 4-star, 6'3", 285 pounds. That sounds like he is a Tamari Fox clone just about. So it's another name. I don't know if we'll see him this year where he is on the depth chart, but just one of those guys. All right, Brian, let's roll from the defensive line to the linebacking core. And, they are having to replace Chase Surratt. 91 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, an interception. I mean, he essentially, what he did, you better record that tally, okay? He essentially was the quarterback of that defense, much like he had been the quarterback previously. He's got to be replaced, Brian. And unfortunately, he's being replaced by a guy we took way too much interest in just a few years ago in Eugene Asante out of Westfield, the 4-star here in Virginia. So they came into state, took a top 10 player. Shit we've been talking about for the last few years. Keep the top 10 guys in state because he would be having to do something in our defense this year if he was still here. But, Brian, he had 5 games last year playing 24 tackles. The amount of production he has to replace is insane. So what does he have to do to become – I mean, I'm not saying replace Chase, right? I don't think you replace that, but become efficient enough to where it doesn't hurt their defense.
So he's also replacing production, but also the quarterback of the defense, which is ironic because he was previously a quarterback himself. And so that's going to be the bigger thing for Eugene Asante is being able to replace that because, they did get up some run yardage last year, but he was kind of Chaz Surratt was acting as the kind of the cleaner, right? He's the guy that, based on alignments and kind of the hybrid things they do, he was able to clean up the messes where those, 8 or 10 yard gains didn't turn into 40 or 50 yard gains. He's making all those tackles just beyond the line of scrimmage, but he was also versatile enough, to get in the backfield and cause some havoc there as well. Asante is a very gifted athlete and a good tackler. I don't think he's going to have a huge problem stepping into that role. The question's going to be is that does he have enough experience between what he had last year and spring and now fall camp to kind of step into that quarterback role of the defense because that's going to be just as important as those physical abilities.
Yeah, and that's going to be maybe that's probably going to be less. That's probably not less. That's probably where we're going to see it. Is because with Surratt, you said something to me that caught my ear this week when we were talking about Chaz Surratt. With Chaz Surratt, everybody was going to be exactly where they needed to be, and he was going to clean up.
Yep.
Being the cleaner. You just said it a few minutes ago, being the cleaner. The thing is, if the guys aren't in the right place, it's a hell of a lot tougher for the cleaner to go in there and clean it up if 3 guys are out of line versus nobody out of line. And
it's very true.
I think that's the big piece. Now, I think where it does benefit is he did get to see Surratt do it last year in a way. But, let me ask this. How good's he going to have to be? Because I think the way me and you feel about it is Tay Robinson, James Mitchell are going to be coming over that middle and attacking the weakness of the safeties and then the inexperience of one of the linebackers.
Yeah, and I'll talk about this a little more when we get to the cornerbacks here in a little bit, but it's going to be very important because I feel like the game plan we're going to come in with is run the football, work the slot, work the seam, work the Diggs. We're going to put pressure on the middle part of that defense because we're going to try to get more guys in the box, and we're going to try to get a little bit more cushion on the outside so we can start working some of our receivers without as much pressure on them, because they are going to be physical as hell at the line of scrimmage at the cornerback position.
And the guy you're talking about is going to be physical as hell is Storm Duck, 6'1", 205, guy that in 2019 really came into the spotlight. Only played a few games last year. Got injured, but he's back this year. And then obviously, if you're a Hokie fan, it is someone that needs absolutely no introduction to you. The 5-star 20 grams out of the 7'5", who essentially got out of high school quick, got to Carolina quick, played last year.
Yep.
What do you think for those two guys, Brian?
Well, looking at their depth chart, Grimes locked up the number one cornerback position, which is impressive for a guy that, as of this point, at the earliest, he should have been on campus in January.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up being on campus last year in the fall, got a full year out of it in terms of playing on the field, and now he's really stepped into a role there where he is the alpha dog in that secondary. But there's a couple other guys that I think in terms of physicality are probably a little more physical than he is. And that's, you already mentioned Storm Duck, but also Kyler McMichael. They're kind of the 2A and 2B at that other cornerback side. And, you know, we've known about Duck. The question with him is going to be, can he return physically to the level of play he was at in 2019? But McMichael got a lot of run last year, and he showed that he was physical. He's got some holes in his game in terms of occasionally let some of the guys get behind him, but he will hit you at the line of scrimmage, jam you up, make sure you can't get to the spot in your route you want to get to.
So, Brian, let me ask this real quick. Well, let's answer that question first, because it makes sense of what we're talking about here with Duck and Grimes. Brian, do you think a wide receiver is going to go over 1,000 yards? That's our boy Tally shouting out, and we're going to consider James Mitchell on that too. Can we go over 100 yards against this team? Can somebody?
I think we're going to struggle to go over 100 yards, especially if we are not able to establish a run early in the game. How well we're able to pass the ball is going to be predicated on the fact that we're able to efficiently gash them in the running game and do it early, unlike last year where we essentially took a quarter and a half to get going in the run game. We need to come out and we need to get some yards against them quick, where they're going to have to commit another safety into the box, and they're going to have to start backing off coverage a little bit at the cornerback position.
Yep. And that's a big key, right? It's a big key.
That's a big key, because a lot of what we do, we don't just line up and run past guys, right? Like that.
No,
that's,
we don't. We're scheming.
That's not our game. Yeah, we scheme guys open. We run some misdirection, then run a guy on a cross country route like we did with Tay Robinson against Clemson last year. There's a lot of plays like that. If we're going to generate big plays, it's not okay. Well, Trey's running a go. Like that has never been our game. So I think we're going to struggle if we can't get out of some of that.
So kind of what you're saying is get the run game going consistently, probably outside, inside zone with some jet sweeps. They're 8+ yards a carry. Pop Mitchell, Tay over the middle in hopefully a variety of ways, maybe some inside screens.
Some screens, maybe some outs, some digs, maybe a seam or a post to James Mitchell.
You want those safeties somewhere between 10 to 15. You don't want them sitting 15, 20 or further. Because if they're sitting 10 to 15 and we're popping them over and over, eventually your hope is Trey or Tay or Jaden, they miss the jam. There's no safety support. And we go over the top, where now Jay Bateman got to make a decision, right?
Yep.
Jay Bateman.
And I mean, you're going to see some jet sweep. There's going to be jet sweeps.
And with the guys we have,
now I'll say this: I think a wide receiver might go over 100 all-purpose yards. I'd be willing to take that bet. I'll be damn sure willing to take that bet. But saying over 100 is going to depend on how well we come out the gate, running the ball and working the underneath game inside the numbers.
So, we're kind of laying out here what things that we need to do, folks, and we're hoping you guys are seeing it. And some of you have already went ahead, clicked the mic at boundarycornervt.com, and gave us your predictions for this game. Some thoughts from the Terror Dome. So, before me and Brian give our predictions, we're going to hear yours.
Hey, this is Truett. My prediction for the Virginia Tech North Carolina game on Friday is obviously Virginia Tech's going to win, and I'm thinking we're going to win. A solid 35-24. I think we're going to win by a couple of scores. Just got a good feeling about it. Virginia Tech's definitely going to win it. Go Hokies!
North Carolina's going to win this game. 38-28 is my prediction. I think we make things interesting in the first half, but I think second half, North Carolina steps up, makes plays, and makes more plays than us. Having Sam Howell in the backfield is going to be the other difference, because our historically bad second half defense is going to give up just too many big plays, and having lack of depth on the defensive line is not going to help either. But I think North Carolina is going to make too many big plays for us to stop and win this game. Also, another safe prediction is Braxton Burmeister over 9.5 rushes and over 2.5 jet sweeps. Easily take those overs.
Hokies win 69-0. Go Hokies!
34-28 UNC.
All right, so we got 4 predictions that came through there. We got 2 for the Hokies, 2 for the Tar Heels. Scores seem to be kind of around that upper 20s, low to mid 30s range.
What are you talking about? 69-0.
Well, I mean, are we counting that one in terms of a realistic outcome,
Yes,
or is that just?
Yes, we are. Yes.
Shout out Jeremy Hokie Pharmacist. If you've ever heard him talk, it's him. If you heard our episode back in December, that's him minus Jameson.
Or with Jameson. Who knows at this time? All right. So it's time to give our predictions. And I'm going to lead, Brian.
All right.
And the last time we saw the Hokies, they won 33-15 over UVA to regain the Commonwealth Cup. A few games before that, in a semi-drunken rage after Liberty, I screamed we should fire the coach. I still believe he should have been fired. I do. That's just my feelings on it. But he's our coach this year, and we support him. I got this in the mail the other day, folks. You probably did too. And I'm seeing this game. Shout out Brian Wilkerson. UNC does suck.
You are correct, sir.
I am seeing this game similar to West Virginia, Virginia Tech back in 2017.
Okay, go on.
It is going to be a close game. It is going to be a nail biter. It is literally going to come down at the end of the game, the Hokie defense versus Sam Howell versus a Heisman candidate, higher ranked team. And I'm going to say, similar to what happened to Will Greer, happens to Sam Howell. Hokies win 38-31.
All right. You put yours in there. I'm going to put my name on this one. I see a very similar game to the regulation portion of 2019. Quarterback injuries and all that shit aside. I think it's one of those games that we're going to have a lead at one point in this game. They're going to have a lead at one point in this game. It's going to be a little bit of back and forth. The difference I see is that I think Sam Howell, with a little more seasoning, gets it done in the fourth quarter. I think it's going to be a 38-34 victory for the Tar Heels.
All right, so write both of those down, folks. We did not waver from last week's season predictions on this game. Brian did go with UNC. I did go with Virginia Tech. Now, Brian, I'm going to ask you real quick because you're a Hokie fan. And
Yes, I am.
I know your head told you UNC. Your heart is telling you the Hokies. And for you, because you have the experience of playing collegiate football, coaching high school football, what has to happen in your mind to change your mind to your heart pick and for the Hokies to win this game?
So to me, it's two things. I already talked about it a little bit. We need to establish the run and work the short passing game between those numbers early, get them kind of out of what they want to do on defense, especially against our wide receivers. On the other side of the ball, the big thing we need to do, B gap, stop the damn run. If we can get them where we can contain that running game, a one-dimensional Sam Howell you don't want it, but it's a whole lot more desirable. I'd rather Sam Howell drop back 45 times than have to deal with an RPO all damn night.
Damn right. You damn right. If that run game is stopped flat, if we stop that run game 75% from the 100% it was last year, I think that's a W, along with some better offensive play calling at certain times. Yep. But I'm not going to digress anymore about that. So, folks, we have it on paper. Brian's giving you his head pick. He gives you his heart pick, what he thinks has to happen. I give you my pick, 38-31. But we aren't done yet tonight, folks. As always, you know, TWS 38-34 UNC. You're fired now. Because we can't pick them every game.
Yeah, I want to. You know I want to.
Well, by all means, if Brian sees things breaking early, I think you need to be checking out the BC and his Twitter feed on Friday night. Because he's probably going to be putting it's going the right direction. Because I think, Brian, you also told me if we win this game, you think we're going to break 40, right?
I think we're probably going to have to break 40. I think Sam Howell, even with an improved Hokie defense this year, I think he's going to be hitting somewhere in the mid-30s. I think they're just going to be that efficient, even with some of the rust from breaking in new players and having a couple guys out and losing all that production. I think they're still going to be a potent offense. The question is going to be is are they putting up those points while trailing us, and that's in our favor. Gotcha. If they're playing catch up, that's in our favor.
All right. Well, folks, let's jump off the Hokies and let's look at the full collegiate landscape. We're going to be picking 10 games here. And man, just looking tomorrow night, you know, it starts. Man Cave will be in full effect tomorrow night. Ohio State plays Minnesota, USF, NC State, Boise, UCF. I mean, it is a fully loaded Thursday night with some good games. You know, certain guy up at Minnesota is, some people say he should come here next. I don't know how that works, but we'll see. We're not going to pick that game just because Minnesota's not ranked. But we are going to pick some ACC games. And Brian, let's start with NC State. Minus 18.5 against South Florida with an over-under of 59. I'm going to jump on this one first, Brian. I'm actually going to take USF. I'm going to give me the 18.5 points.
Okay.
I don't think USF is going to get probably to 20 points. I don't foresee that. But I don't see NC State getting much more than 30. I think NC State wins the game in hand. I think it's never in doubt. But I think 18.5 is way too much to lay on this. So give me USF. What about you? What are you doing with those points?
I think NC State's going to cover. I like what they're bringing to the table this year. I think having a little more stability on the offense, they're going to be a much more balanced offensive attack this year. And I think they're going to probably get into the upper 30s, low 40s. And I think that's going to be just enough to get probably about a 20-point victory there.
20-point victory. That is on tomorrow night, folks. Check it out. Even though we're not playing NC State this year, keep an eye on your ACC team. Oh, Tally says NC State's going to run all over them. Tally, if you can hear me, are you taking or laying the points with NC State? And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move to the next one. If we get Tally's response, we'll include it. All right, Brian. Duke is laying 6 points against UNC Charlotte. Will Healy, a name we've heard a lot of, over under 60.5. Who are you taking with the points, big guy?
Duke, but barely. I think that's going to be barely. Yeah, I think that's a touchdown game.
I'm with you on that. I think it is too. I don't think UNC Charlotte's there yet, even though Duke is dreadful. I think they figure out a way to win 7 to 10 points. The 60.5, I feel like that's way too low. We saw UNC Charlotte last year, and we've seen Duke's defense. I think that might be the play might actually not to be on the line, because it could be that Duke wins by 4 points because they block a field goal or something. But I think 60.5 is not the number there to go with. I would look at the over/under. Oh, laying the 18.5. All right, write that down.
I'm with him.
Tally's on MGM, lighten it up. All right, let's roll on to another ACC game on Saturday. Syracuse is laying 2 points against Ohio. Syracuse.
You gonna lead on this one?
Huh?
You lead on this one?
Dude, I'm with what you've got written down here already. Give me Ohio. Give me outright. So I'm going to take those points. Let's go.
Yeah, Ohio winning outright, lock it the hell up.
Yes, because Ohio is always a good MAC program, and I know the head coach Frank Solich just left a few years ago, or just left earlier this year. He always had a good program. They always, even when they played the bigger teams, they always dog fought. Now you're going to put a bad Power 5 team in there. That team's going to win. By the way, biggest mistake Nebraska ever made, firing Frank Solich 20 plus years ago. Biggest mistake they ever made. Crushed that.
Boom.
All right, let's go back and look at a pretty big matchup on Sunday. We have Sunday football, folks. 7:30. I think it's going to be on ABC. Notre Dame, FSU. Notre Dame is laying 7.5. Brian, what do you think on this one?
This is the one that I wasn't sure where I wanted to go. I still don't trust Notre Dame. So what I'm going with here is that this is the first chance for what is probably a very middle of the pack FSU team to essentially play the game of their life.
Okay.
Out the gate. And I think they keep it close enough. I don't think they win outright, but I think it's like a 6-point game. So.
Okay. Not so fast, man. We discussed with Brett just a few days ago about, although Notre Dame is replacing some talent on offense, that defense is nasty.
It is.
And if we saw FSU last year, they just don't, other than playing Carolina, they did not look right the rest of the year. I think 7.5 is too low. I think this is somewhere between a 14 to 17 point game, because personally, I don't think FSU is going to get to 17. And I think eventually it's the old, your defense is athletic, but eventually a team that has Chris Tyree, and even though Jack Cohn is not as mobile as Ian Book, once Chris Tyree peppers that middle of the line enough, they're going to take some shots and they're going to hit. So give me the Irish, lay the 7.5 points, folks. All right, Brian, if we're crazy enough, after probably watching somewhere in the neighborhood in the next 4 days, I'm going to give our over under 30 hours of football.
Yeah.
30?
That sounds about right.
Probably 4 hours tomorrow night.
There will be mass consumption of the college footballs over the next
if we can
4 or 5 days.
Exactly. If we can make it to Monday night, 8 o'clock kick, Louisville, Ole Miss. All right, you led the last one. I'm leading this one. Lane Kiffin likes to score points. 75.5 is not enough. If that guy can put 50-plus point on a Nick Saban defense, he is going to shred Scott Satterfield's defense in a heartbeat. 10 points is not enough. You think of the amount of talent that Louisville had on offense last year. Tutu Atwell's in the NFL. The running back's in the NFL. they're not bringing anybody back. We saw last year with Virginia Tech's offense that we could put 40 on them without blinking, load it up, take the over. I think this game's going to be somewhere like 56-30. And
that sounds right.
Ole Miss easily covers it.
Yeah, give me Ole Miss with both barrels, man. Lane Kiffin's going to run it up.
That's what Lane does. Unless he doesn't, he gets fired on tarmacs. All right.
Ouch.
All right, let's jump over to the Big Ten for a second because they've got a couple big matchups this week, and the biggest one is the Wisconsin-Penn State game in Madison at Camp Randall. Let's jump around a little bit. Over-under's 50. Wisconsin is laying 5.5, Ryan. What do you think on this one?
This is another one I struggled with when I was looking at the line, but I think Whiskey's going to get a touchdown victory here. I'm a little unshaky. I'm a little shaky with what Wisconsin's bringing to the table this year, but I think they've got enough playing at home to pull out a 7-point victory over Penn State.
All right. I do think Wisconsin's going to win this game, but I think 5.5 is too much. I think this is truly more like a pick 'em. I think this is literally going to be a field goal game. I think Wisconsin does win because of the home field advantage. So give me Penn State. I am going to take the points there. I think that's going to be a hell of a way to kick off noon, regardless what happens Friday night. And this is one thing I like about playing Friday night, even as bad as it could be, and we've dealt with as bad as it could be, because it ain't going to ever get worse than 2019. You can compartmentalize it. You can put it away. You can wake up. You can eat a good breakfast, whether you make it yourself or me calling Boy Chuck's and getting some biscuits and gravy sent over to the house.
Shout out.
Great biscuits and gravy. You can eat that. You can cut on game day, have a beer, and then get into college football. So great one. Now, Brian, let's go down to Louisiana Lafayette with Billy Napier against Texas, newly hired Steve Sarkisian. Texas going to the SEC in a few years. Billy Napier stayed at Louisiana Lafayette when he was probably literally the hottest coaching candidate last year. Let's hit Billy Napier real quick before we jump into this game. If Billy Napier goes 9-3 this year down at Lafayette, and let's say we don't have a great season, would you want a redo of a Billy Napier, of a G5 coach having success at a program not normally that successful?
Okay. That's the big question right now. I don't think it would have to be the right candidate for me personally. And if Napier has that type of season, I might feel that way. I would prefer a more seasoned P5 coordinator if we ended up having to go that route.
All right. I'm feeling you. I want that route too if it happens. The one upside to Napier I'll say is this. Napier has a more regional feel with us, the Clemson ties. He has that mid-Atlantic feel versus where Fu was Tennessee coming from Texas. That's the only thing. But I'm 100% with you. I think you can't go the same route twice. And
it's a hard sell for a fan base that by that point is reaching borderline apathy.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to the game. Texas is laying 8. Sam Ellinger's in your Colts. So this quarterback's gone. Sark's in with the new system. I can't see them winning this game by more than like 5. I think this is going to be an absolute dogfight because we see how Napier's team plays. I know Sark is a offensive mind.
Yep.
But Sark's stop as a head coach have been less than impressive. I think it's a dogfight. I think it's going to be probably one of the funnest games of the day. Texas probably wins this game, but ULL keeps it super close.
I tell you what you're going to see a lot of. You're going to see a lot of really good drives followed by a handful of 3-and-outs because there's going to be some growing pains with that new offense. There's also going to be a fairly, I'd say, at least athletically talented Texas defense. Lafayette's probably going to have some of those drives where they just can't get anything going, but there's going to be more where they're able to move the ball. And I think Texas might squeak this one out, but I got Lafayette in terms of the spread.
All right, so we're agreeing on this one too, folks. It's, again, this is what usually happens. I mean, it is. When you have a good G5 team, they get to say we're going against the world, we're going against Big Bad Texas, and you got Texas learning something new at Sark. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be one of the most entertaining games of the day. All right, let's go back to the Big Ten. Another big matchup there, 17 versus 18. Indiana coming off probably its best season since 1993. Go back. We beat them that year in the Independence Bowl versus Iowa. Kurt Brent, Steady Eddie, never out of the top 25. Iowa is laying 3.5. Brian, you lead this one, buddy.
I think Indiana pulls this one outright. I know it's pretty much a pick 'em, just outside of that normal range. I just like the energy that their coach brings to the table. I like the returning pieces that they have on their offense. So I think they get it done.
All right. I'm going to say nothing so fast on this one. If Penix wasn't coming off an injury, I might lean. But having to go to Kinnick is a stadium that somehow always, anytime they play a good opponent, somehow Iowa always comes out on top. You're getting the points. I'm going to lay the points. I think it's a touchdown game. I think literally it's going to be right on like the number. Like, it's a 46 over under. It's a 46 over under. So you're looking at something like a 21, somewhere. I will lay 3.5 with Iowa to win by like 7. 21-28 or somewhere in that range.
The over under feels a little low for me. I think they'll both be in kind of the upper 20s in the score, but if that was like 51, I think I'd be like, okay, that's where I would question it. But 46, I would definitely hammer the over there.
Well, I mean, I would say that, Brian, but then I go look at Iowa's totals for last year, and it was like 24, 21. They blew out Minnesota by 35, 26, 35, 28. There's nothing there that like pops you that says like they're going to hit 50 easy. So I think you're right. If it's 50, you might would jump on it, but this number, like, don't do that. All right, man. Let's get to the two biggest games of the weekend other than the Hokies. Let's go to Atlanta, man. And it's the U against Alabama. And Alabama is laying, this is an asinine number to me, especially with all they lost. Alabama's laying 19.5.
Yeah, this one's crazy. I mean, I got this one just being a close one. I've got this like a 1-score, maybe a 10-point game. So I'm definitely taking Miami here. I think Derek King with another year in that offense, if he's good to go health-wise and can play that whole game, they're going to be there right till the end.
I'm with you. I think 19.5 is way too much late. And even if the Derek King isn't 100% yet, I think Lashley can keep it off-balanced enough to get to probably the mid-20s against Alabama.
Yeah.
But I think it's more of Manny Diaz. Manny Diaz is a damn good defensive coordinator. He's a damn good defensive coach. You got Bryce Young as essentially a redshirt freshman starting. Bryce Young was a 5-star. He was an all-caliber type guy. And we don't know who he's throwing to because Devonta Smith is gone. Najee Harris, he ain't handing the ball off to them.
Yep. You know they got guys. Are they going to be gelled enough? Is there going to be some growing pains with that? Like especially on the offensive side of the ball. Defense, they're probably going to be able to step in and be as stout as usual.
But 19.5 is too much. I think what you say is they're right there to the end. I think Alabama finds scoring. I think it's somewhere like 38-30. I think it's going to be a really entertaining game in the afternoon because I think Miami's defense will keep them in it long enough. I just don't think they'll close the door.
Yeah. I was thinking like somewhere like 42-33, 42-35 was kind of where I was heading. Somewhere between 8 and 10.
Let me ask this. Are you seeing this as more of a back and forth, or are you seeing this more like an Oklahoma-Alabama bowl game where Bama jumped out quick like 17, but with Kyler Murray, essentially you get the dollar store version of a Kyler Murray and De'Aaron King, where they're going to start finding pieces?
I think it's going to be the other way around. I think some of the growing pains, I think Miami's going to jump out on them being the more experienced team with so much returning talent. And then Bama's going to claw their way back in it as they kind of settle in and then take the lead, probably, just before the turn into the fourth quarter. And then it's kind of a arm's length run to the buzzer there.
Got it. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to the last one, the big game Saturday night in Charlotte. Uga versus Clemson. Clemson's laying 3. This is an over-under of 51. Clemson obviously lost Trevor Lawrence. Uga has lost quite a few guys in their camp. Brian, I'm going to lead this one off, man, and I'm going to tell you what. I don't think JT Daniels is going to know what hits him with the way that Clemson defense is. I think it's going to be a good game, but I think Clemson's going to win by 10 points because I don't think Georgia's going to get 20.
Okay.
So, Clemson, I'll lay the 3.
I've got the Bulldogs squeaking one out.
All right.
Squeaking it out.
You're taking 3 and they're winning.
Yep.
All right. All right, so write that one down.
I think the veteran quarterback gets it done. And that's really the difference maker for me.
All righty. Well, Brian, other than we got a 5-star punter today, is there any other news?
Nothing big that I can see right now, buddy. I think we're good to roll on.
All right. Well, folks, that is going to wrap up this episode of the Boundary Corner Podcast. I'm Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Visit our website at boundarycornerbt.com to listen to all of our episodes. While you're there, do not forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and subscribe on YouTube. Also, for your podcast listening, Spotify, Amazon, Apple. And if you're looking to join the Hokie Club and help to achieve the Reach for Excellence, please visit our boundarycornerbt.com/giving to get started. As always, we let our buddy Jason Long play us out. After the game on Friday night, if you're over in Roanoke, check him out at the Grand Farmers Market in Roanoke from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Check him out on Spotify and Apple Music. And as always, let's go!
Hokies!